A Musical Life with Gaelic singer Isobel Ann Martin. Isobel Ann Martin is a traditional Gaelic singer living on the Isle of Lewis off of the coast of Scotland. At the age of 18, she won the traditional gold medal at the Royal National Mod. Despite her tremendous early success, Isobel Ann has kept a low profile with only a few CDs and television appearances, focusing instead on her career as a nurse and motherhood. This episode of A Musical Life is brought to you by AirTurn, the makers of the #1 page-turning pedals for tablets and computers and accessories for digital musicians. Be sure to stay until the end of the episode to get a special discount coupon code for your purchase of any AirTurn product. To learn more, visit amusicallife.com/AirTurn. Again, that's amusicallife.com/AirTurn. Welcome to A Musical Life. I'm Hugh Sung, and I'm delighted to introduce you to Isobel Ann Martin, or Bellann to her friends. Bellann is the daughter of Calum Martin, who was featured in my last episode and is a remarkable traditional Gaelic singer. The first time I heard her sing was when she submitted vocal tracks for one of my songs in my upcoming album Psalms, Hyssop and Snow, and I was blown away by the purity of her voice and the amazing vocal embellishments that are one of the hallmarks of Gaelic singing. Bellann, thank you so much for being on the show, and thank you for letting me call you by the name that your friends know you by, Bellann.
No problem, my pleasure.
I hope that means we're friends now.
Yes, absolutely.
So I'm wondering, did you receive formal training for Gaelic music as a child, or did music just come naturally to you?
I didn't really receive any formal training at all. It was just something that I've always done. I can't remember a time when I didn't sing in Gaelic. I was obviously brought up. It was playing in our house all the time. It was around us in church. We went to the Gaelic services in church. And then in school, we didn't receive formal training as such, but we did have Gaelic singing as part of our music lessons.
So this is something that everybody would participate in, is that correct?
Yes, yeah, absolutely. Mostly it was around, we'll speak later on about the mod time.
Yes.
Mostly it was around then. We would be in choirs and things like that. We'd be learning Gaelic songs. But it wasn't a Gaelic school I went to. It was just a normal mainstream English school. But we were encouraged, if we were interested in Gaelic, to partake in the mod, and they did nurture Gaelic music.
Now let's go ahead and talk about this mod. This is a national mod. It is a competition, a festival. Can you describe what the national mod actually is?
I can, absolutely. We actually have the local mod. That's what we used to do when we were in school, in primary school, and that was just local to our area. The national mod is throughout Scotland. So it's a sort of Gaelic competition, not just in singing. There's poetry, reading, plays, folk groups, choirs, you name it, across the board in Gaelic. It's all done in Gaelic, and it's competitions ranging from primary one, the very first age that you go to school, ranging right up to adulthood. And there's various different competitions that you take part in, and you get judged in. Depending on what category you go into, you get judged in sort of Gaelic and music, and you get points, and then the points are added up, and there's first, second, and third place.
Oh, that's
so
fantastic.
That's the national mod.
Now you mentioned that there was the local mod and then the national mod. Is that correct? So so I presume that if you have to win the local mod first before going on to the national, or can you go straight to the national?
No, you can go in for either of these. You don't have to have Gaelic, you don't have to have won anything, you don't have to do any qualifiers or anything. Anybody can enter.
So now this is the remarkable part. When you were 18, you
Yes,
won the traditional gold medal
I
at the
did.
National Mod in 2005. This was your very first attempt.
That's right.
That's
Yes.
amazing. So what inspired you to go for the National Mod and how did you prepare for it?
Well, I don't really know what inspired me. Just it's I've always done, or I had always done the mod at various points in school, and then when I was 18, obviously you move on to the adult level, and just because I loved singing, it wasn't anything to do with the competition side of it. That didn't really bother me at all. But just because I love Gaelic singing, and it was an opportunity for me to sing Gaelic and get criticism or constructive criticism. That's why I went in for it, for the adult competition, and I absolutely did not expect to win it at all. So really, it was just my love for Gaelic singing that made me go in for it. And preparing for it, I probably didn't do as much preparation as I should have or I could have. Much as
But it was obviously more than enough to win the gold medal.
it's kind of the Gaelic way. You don't really. Well, I certainly don't tend to do rehearsal after rehearsal after rehearsal. It's just you learn the song and you get to know the song and then you sing the song.
How lovely. Now, obviously, you clearly demonstrated a remarkable musical gift and a breathtakingly beautiful voice.
Ooh, I don't know
But
about that. Thank you.
I absolutely love hearing you sing. But it's interesting that you kept a low profile after winning that mod, and you have a few CDs and you made a few television appearances since that competition. I'm wondering if was that a conscious decision on your part to stay under the radar?
Not particularly. I've never really been one for the limelight anyway. The side that I enjoy is actually learning the songs and singing the songs rather than any sort of competitive side. But I had started training as a nurse when I was 17. So life kind of got in the way rather than it being a conscious decision. So I was in university for 3 years, training to be a nurse, and then took up a job as a nurse and had to move away to get a job. So yeah, life just kind of got in the way. So I just used to carry on singing when I could.
Just for fun and just for your own enjoyment, then?
Yes, pretty much, yeah. Or if anybody asked me to sing at anything, we quite often have sort of informal gatherings we call Kayleys that they do for fundraising or anything like that. If anyone asked me to sing at those things and I was free, if I had free time, then that's how I carried on doing it.
Yeah, that's so lovely. It's I don't know how many musicians dream of having real jobs and how many people in real jobs dream of being musicians.
Yeah, certainly over here it's very, very hard to make a full-time living out of singing. So nursing is my main career.
But it's I at the same time, if you had to, I love cooking. And I've had friends come up to me and say, "Oh, you should open a restaurant." And I tell them, if I did, I would lose my love of cooking because my livelihood would depend on it. In some ways, by not being a full-time musician, do you feel like you are able to enjoy your music more?
Definitely, yeah, I think so. I think it would put a huge amount of pressure on me if I did have to, rely on it as my livelihood. I think having to do a lot of touring and sort of the other side of it, where you're traveling a lot and trying to make ends meet, I think it would probably take its toll.
Yeah. Well, I'd like to take a few moments to explore some of your songs.
Sure.
And one of the most striking ones, I had just interviewed your father, Calum Martin, the wonderful Gaelic singer, and we had a very long discussion helping me understand what Gaelic psalm singing is. And you have a song called Martyrs, St. Mary's, which really sounds an awful lot like Gaelic psalm line singing or lining out. I'm wondering if you could help us understand in your own words how line singing or presenting or lining out works.
Yes, absolutely. I would say the Martyrs and Martyrdom that's on my album is definitely Gaelic psalm singing. It sounds slightly different because it's a small group of us that are doing it and there's harmonies running through it, just because I wanted a different sound. But the basis is still the same, and the basis of the Gaelic psalm singing is where I learned to sing. I learned to sing by listening to Gaelic psalm singing in church when we were small growing up. So it's kind of second nature to me. It's very, very much the basis of my style of singing in Gaelic.
And is this a traditional melody or is this an original one?
It is a traditional melody, yeah.
Is there a story behind this song? I'm wondering if you could help us understand what the words that you're singing mean.
It's actually a psalm.
Oh,
It's actually
interesting.
a psalm.
Which
Yes.
psalm? Which psalm was that?
It is Psalm 72, and it's the last three verses. So you would tend to sing that at the end of a communion service here in Gaelic. So that's the psalm that I chose.
So there's another song I'd like to talk about, Col de Hyain. Did I pronounce that
That's very
correctly?
good.
Oh,
Yes,
thank you.
yeah.
It's from your
Yeah.
album Dulash. Is that correct?
Duslach.
Duslach.
Yep.
I'm sorry.
Yep, that's it.
Or also known as Dust and Gold. Can you help us understand what Col de Hyain means?
I can indeed. Cul de Hyain, basically translated, means the back of your head, which is a very strange title for a song, but it's a song about a girl singing about a man, and she's talking about the back of his head.
Oh, that sounds it sounds strange on the surface, but also a bit sad. It seems like
Yes.
she doesn't see his face. Is that correct?
Well, it's basically he's leaving her, he's going away. So that's where the back of the head thing comes from. And her parents want her, she wants to wait for him and obviously marry him when he comes back, but her parents want her to marry somebody else because he's gone to war and they probably think that he's not going to come back. So she's singing to the back of his head.
Oh, beautiful.
It's very sad.
There's another song, Fashk. Can you help us understand what that title means and what that song is about?
Yeah, Fashk basically means near, and Fashke Glor means near to heaven, and it was actually my dad that wrote that song.
Oh, lovely. Your father, Calum Martin. Okay.
That's right, yeah.
And what is that? What are the words in that song? What do they mean?
He's basically talking about his surroundings and things that are around him and how he feels close to heaven.
Lovely. There's another wonderful song, and you were very kind in teaching me how to pronounce this one because the letters in English are very, very interesting. Oran Don Hill, is that correct?
That's it. Very good.
Wow,
Yes.
wow, thank you. And now, what does that title mean, and what is this song about?
The title means a song for the world, a song to the world, and it's quite a harrowing tale. This one, the lady was due to get married, but she contracted, I think it was TB. It was certainly an illness, something like TB. And rather than wait until she got better, she, from her sick bed, saw her fiancé going off with another woman.
Oh, heartbreaking.
Very heartbreaking. So she's basically, she's just talking about that and giving advice to anybody that's listening, but that she knows that if she dies and goes to heaven, the pain will go away.
Små faranden kar, shine clue Emmanuel, heart on and glor, misher magal, fast hochnen joy, små chrie the scanjig, lekraje esperon, nu at hikken saurig, behoud of mochen, mach mesknen clown, lekrolai hunend leef, masol sig meidjen, as ni jaulu go heen, skun småjen go on, good of foil na dogni. Gud rike den eiche, jeg meidjen dan glad, for det hokke gubra
And there's one more song I'd like to talk a little bit about, I&rsquo, is that correct?
Yep. That song basically means the eagle, and it's the name of a boat, the Islair. And the boat on near New Year, after returning from the war, was just a stone's throw, literally, from the harbour in Stornoway, where we live. And the boat hit the rocks, and most of the men on that boat drowned just within eyeshot of the town, basically. So very, very harrowing. I can't remember how many offhand died, but certainly hundreds of men, young boys returning from the war. Just they could see their homes, but they never made it.
As we were reflecting on the titles and the themes conveyed through the songs that you sing, it strikes me that so much of Gaelic music deals with very deep, spiritual, emotional
It does, yes, very much.
themes. And it seems that your singing in particular and the way you express it really carries such tremendous emotional weight and power, both in its simplicity and also its beautiful embellishments. I'm wondering if you could explain where that spiritual depth comes from in some of these songs.
Yeah, I think a lot of it is up here. People don't really talk about their feelings, and when tragedies and things happened to people and heartbreak, they didn't talk about them, but some people were able to write about them and put them into a song and put a tune to it, and people would sing them. And I think for a lot of people, the actual singing itself, based for a lot of us from the Psalms, it's just something that's in us. And that sort of heavy embellishment and lots of grace notes, it's just something that comes naturally to the singing.
And it's very personal too. I think one of the most remarkable thing about lining out or line singing is the fact that, as your father had described it, there is this vertical and horizontal. The vertical where it's your spiritual experience directly to God, and then the horizontal singing in relationship to your community. It seems that a lot of Gaelic music has that vertical and horizontal connection in place, wouldn't you say?
Absolutely, yes. I mean, it's the same as in the Gaelic Psalms. You have your basic tune and you know your basic tune, but personally, depending on how the words affect you, what mood you're in, what sort of song it is, you embellish it just as it comes naturally to you.
Now, when you recorded your vocals for my album, Psalms, Hyssop and Snow, I have to confess, I actually had tears in my eyes when I heard you sing one of my hymn settings, How Lovely Shines the Morning Star.
How lovely shines the morning star, the nations see and hear afar. The light in Judah shining, the David son of Jacob's race, my bridegroom and my King of grace. For thee my heart is lowly, holy, great and glorious, thou victorious Prince of graces, filling all the heavenly places. Now reach me to my waiting heart, O thou my God, into impart the grace of love undying, and thy best body let me be, e'en as the branch, as in the tree, thy life, my life supplying. Sighing, crying, for the savor of thy favor, resting never, till I rest in thee forever. Thy mighty Father and thy Son didst love me ere thou hast begun this ancient world's foundation. Thy Son has made a friend of me, and when in spirit and I see, I join in tribulation. What bliss is this? He that liveth to me giveth life forever. Nothing me from him can sever.
Now, you sent over 3 completely different versions for each song, and the final track is actually a mix of those 3 versions.
Right?
Now, we're going to go into a little bit of the details of how you sing them. One of the things that is characteristic of Gaelic singing, as I'm learning, is that you add all these really fast notes in between the main notes. And musicians, we would call them grace notes.
That's right, yeah.
And yet, they're completely random. You put them in random places each time you sing the song, and sometimes you would even change some of the notes.
Yes.
I'm wondering if you can describe how you travel between the notes with your voice.
Well, I wish I could, but I can't. It's one of these things. I don't know why, but for me and some other singers that sing in Gaelic, it's just something you don't think about. It comes naturally. It's just the way it comes out, and I think it would be very, very rare for me to ever sing a song the same twice. And I don't know why that is. I don't know why that is. It's just something that comes it's just something that comes naturally to me. And and I don't think about the notes. I don't think about the notes that I'm going to change. I just have the melody that I know in my head, and then the rest just spills out. It just comes out naturally. Now, there is people that can learn grace notes, but they're in static places. You know where they're going to come, and they come in the same place every time. So you can learn to add in grace notes, but for me, it's just something that comes naturally. And if I think about it too much, that's when it tends to go wrong.
Now, does it come more easily? So these were brand new songs. I'm wondering if you embellish differently when you're singing something that you've been singing all your life as opposed to something that's brand new.
Yes, probably. I probably embellish something that I've, say an old Gaelic song that I've been singing for years, I probably embellish it more because I know it inside out. And I know the tune, and I know which way the tune can bend or not bend. So probably with a new song, I'm slightly more cautious about what I do with it. although I still I don't plan what I'm going to sing. I just try it, and sometimes it works and sometimes it doesn't.
Now, do you read music? Do you actually read music notation, or do you learn your songs by ear?
I don't. I learn my songs by ear. I can read music. We learn to read music in school, but certainly for all my singing, I just learn the songs by ear.
It's probably much more freeing, isn't it? Rather than does looking at the music notes actually hold you back?
It depends what I'm singing. When I was singing in sort of choirs and things, and doing harmonies, I would read the music because it had to be that note at that time. And it's got to all be in sort of perfect harmony. So I read the music for things like that. But for Gaelic singing, traditional Gaelic singing that I do on my own, I don't read any music because I like it to be free.
I'm wondering if you could help our listeners who may or may not be musicians, if you could help maybe describe your feelings as you have a song that you are singing, perhaps a song that you know extremely well. What does it feel like when you're taking that song and doing new things and embellishing? Does it take over your emotions, your thoughts? How does it take? Yes.
Yes, absolutely. I just find myself, I don't think about the music side of it so much. I sort of get lost in the lyrics, and just whatever I'm feeling at the time comes out. So even if it's a happy song, but I myself are feeling sad, you can hear it in the way I sing it. It just depends on how I'm feeling and what song I'm singing at the time. And sometimes I've been asked to sing songs that I just amn't feeling. And I can sing them okay, but I don't have as much of a connection, say, with certain songs. But the really sort of heavy, good Gaelic traditional ones that are all about heartbreak and sorrow and things, I just get totally lost and immersed in the song. And it can actually be quite draining singing them because you're sort of feeling what the poet had written and the feelings that they were going through, and that's how my singing comes out. Just reflects that and what I'm feeling at the time.
And I don't want to get too much into divulging anything too personal or too painful, but were there many experiences in your life, many painful experiences that you draw on to interpret some of these more painful songs?
No, I wouldn't really say so. I mean, I have experienced, death and things like that, but I wouldn't say that it affects my singing. My singing is based on that particular song at that time. Because, I mean, obviously I didn't live in war times or, times where people died of TB and things. So you would think it would be hard for me to relate. But for some reason, there's just something inside me that draws me to these songs.
And it's amazing, the power of music. I think that's one of the most amazing things about music is that they help to almost translate the experiences that other people have, that while we may not have had them ourselves directly, we step into their shoes. We step into their lives, if just for a few lines or a few words or a few moments, and feel what they felt as closely as if we were them in some ways. Wouldn't you say?
Absolutely. Yeah, totally agree with that. Yeah.
So what are your favorite types of songs to sing? It sounds like some of the more even though they're emotionally draining, would they be the more painful songs or the more lighthearted ones?
Definitely. I don't know what's wrong with me, but yeah, certainly the sorrowful ones, the mournful ones, the songs that have a really sort of tragic tale, and they're my favourites to sing. Although I do sing like, fast, light-hearted, witty songs as well, but I don't enjoy singing them as much as I do with the sort of power ballads. I prefer the sort of power ballads of Gaelic.
Now, do you sing in other musical styles, non-Gaelic styles?
Not really.
Wonderful. So...
Not really. Certainly not in public, but I do. I love all sorts of music, and I listen to all sorts of music, and I sing to all sorts of music at home. But for performing and for my CDs and things, it's mostly Gaelic.
And you really don't need to rehearse that much. So is that right? You just have the song and you just go in there and just do it and let it come as freely as possible. Is that correct?
That's, for me anyway, that's the best way to do it. The more I go over a song and rehearse it, I start thinking about it too much, and then it sort of loses its magic. So for me personally, the fewer times, the fewer takes I do, and the fresher the song is, the better for me.
Fascinating. I guess with more rehearsals, you become more locked into doing things one particular way.
Yes.
Instead of having multiple paths and options. Is that correct?
That's right, yeah. It sort of loses its... I don't know, it just sort of loses its spark if I've over-rehearsed something, or if I've sung it, 100 times, 100 takes. It loses its spark.
Now, you have a very close relationship with your father, Calum Martin, who's actually produced several of your albums. I'm wondering if you wouldn't mind sharing a little bit about your relationship with him and his influence on your music.
Well, he's as daft about Gaelic singing as I am, so I think that's probably probably why we get on so well. But it's just easy. I think if we've always obviously had music and Gaelic singing at the house, and he's always got his guitar out and I'm always singing, so the two just go hand in hand. And we're sort of on the same wavelength about a lot of things to do with music, but... I need to keep him in check as well, because he tends to sneak in 100 different instruments into things that I don't necessarily think needed. But we have professional disagreements, but generally we're on the same wavelength.
That's so wonderful. Well, you must be very, very busy with your nursing. Is that right?
Well, at the moment, I'm not actually nursing at the moment. I am 2 weeks away from having another baby.
Oh my goodness, congratulations. Oh, do you know if it's a boy or girl?
I don't know, but I have a wee boy already who's just 17 months old. So
oh, precious.
That's my life at the moment.
Oh, beautiful, beautiful. So are you at home full time at this point?
I am, yes.
Oh, wonderful, wonderful. Yeah. Well, Bellann, especially given how close you are to having another little wee one in the home, I really appreciate you taking the time to be on the show. And well, Bellann, I so enjoyed working with you, and even though we've only met virtually,
I know.
I really hope I get a chance to meet you and your father in person one day soon, and I hope we can continue to work on putting together some more beautiful music.
Absolutely. Be great.
Well, Bellann, thank you so much for being on the show.
Thank you very much.
All right, you take care.
Thank you. Take care. Bye-bye.
Okay, bye-bye. This episode of A Musical Life has been brought to you by AirTurn, the makers of digital accessories for musicians, like the PED and Duo page-turning pedals for tablets and computers, and the Go Stand, the world's most portable collapsible mic stand that fits into your backpack. Why deal with the hassle of sheet music binders and books when you can have your entire library in a 1-pound tablet? Once you experience the freedom of having all your sheet music with you everywhere you go, you'll want to take your music to the next level with AirTurn's line of wireless page-turning pedals for reading music completely hands-free. Check out AirTurn's Gig and Go package, which gives you everything you need for performing sheet music on the go. The AirTurn Duo page-turning pedal, Monos mount with side clamp to hold your tablet, and the Go Stand portable mic stand with telescoping boom. Visit amusicallife.com/AirTurn and use coupon code MUSIC10 when checking out to save 10% off of your purchase. Once again, that's amusicallife.com/AirTurn and use coupon code MUSIC with the number 10, all one word, no spaces. For links to all the music featured in this episode, be sure to visit the show notes at amusicallife.com. You'll also find links to Isobel Ann Martin's website and CDs. And be sure to leave a comment or send me your feedback by email at stories@amusicallife.com. I'd love to hear from you. If you like this show, please tell a friend or share a link on Facebook or Twitter. Be sure to subscribe to A Musical Life through iTunes or Stitcher or with your favorite podcast playing app, and consider posting a review. I'd really appreciate that. Until next time, I'm Hugh Sung, and I wish you a musical life.